everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Want to remind everybody, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. There's a PayPal link down there for anybody who wants to share some love. And of course, the StreamYard is there for anybody who wants to join the panel. We're going to talk more about this asylum and the lunacy that is at hand. And this is the everyday occurrences of those videos we watch with the police and the Karens and Kens and all the corruption and insanity of transgenderism and soon to be transhumanism, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to get into it. We've got somebody talking about the mafia, inside the Mexican mafia. So we're talking about a meth case.
They got him on a meth case out here.
He was able to get away with probably murdering people.
He had a thing with the warden. On the dude's birthday, they take him down to the rec room. They're playing Mexican music, mariachi. They're all sending me back to get freaking bottles of white lightning. Guard comes over. What's your name? Looks at me. Revelos 1198433 coming back to B3 over. In the middle of a party they're having for this dude, I'm going back to get more liquor. Here comes more people doing the same as me. I'll look through that window thing where there's only 4 or 5 people in there. They're playing music. He's dog drunk. He gets so drunk, they put him in a wheelchair. They call the warden. We got you-know-who down here, dog drunk. Got a whole house full of soldiers, man. What do we do with him? Make sure he don't get touched, wheel him back to his unit. This is the Federal Bureau of Prisons calling the warden, man.
Unbelievable.
Wow. Think about that. I said this corruption and stuff and this lunacy that we're talking about is systemic. And this is just a bit of evidence to help support that. I think he's speaking truth here. Seems like it anyway. He may be lying. It may be quite a projection, embellishment, whatever. But I don't think it is. Just my opinion, of course. And the next one is on some cop extortion. So let's see what this one is.
The FBI raided the homes of some Albuquerque Police Department officers, but what did these officers allegedly do wrong in the first place? Here we see Carlos Sandoval Smith being pulled over by an APD officer. And then the officer has Carlos do some field sobriety tests. Despite blowing under the legal limit, the officer says,
I do have to place you in handcuffs and I do have to place you under arrest. Seriously, sir?
But then the officer suggests Carlos hire a specific attorney, Thomas Clear III. Carlos thought this was a bit suspicious, so he recorded his conversation with Mr. Clear's staff.
You representing me, that would guarantee that this doesn't go on my record?
Yes.
Yes. So it sounds like a finding of not guilty or dismissal or something is had by an agreement with an attorney. That sounds like fraud. So let's see how it works out. I mean, just as the implication. So you're saying by hiring you, this all goes away. Yes.
So how can this attorney's office guarantee that Carlos won't be convicted? If the officer doesn't show up to court to put on the prosecution's case, it's pretty hard for the prosecution to prove that you ever committed a crime, and there's a high likelihood that your case will be thrown out. And guess what's been happening?
A group of officers not appearing 29 times for one attorney is suspicious.
So seemingly they just don't appear and shit disappears. Funny how that works. Pick and choose. The law is for thee and not for me. So let's take a look at the next one. A robbery goes wrong. And again, I don't. See, this guy comes in from down here. He's telling everybody he's here to rob the place, waving a gun around or something. This guy's just sitting there on his phone, just ignoring him. Tells him, hold on. Says, yo, Pops. Are you deaf, motherfucker? Got a gun right in his eye. Give me that fucking thing. Suck my dick, he says. Now the guy holding the gun says, what the fuck? Calls him a pussy dick. Says, hey, faggot, you got a light? Then says, bitch, got a light? Shut the fuck up. I got one. Interesting. Looking right at him. Everybody on the fucking ground. Looks right at him, turns around, and just ignores him. That's alpha male, folks. Just my opinion again. That's more what we need to get to. A lot of these people don't have are too cowardice to pull the trigger. Likely not even one in the chamber. I don't know. Just my opinion again. Everybody works on everybody else's fear. Kind of like a cop attempting to coerce a young man to waive his rights. Come on.
This young man was approached by police demanding entry into his home without a warrant. Watch how he confidently stands his ground and asserts his rights under the 4th Amendment, protecting against unreasonable searches and seizures.
Where's Kevin at? I don't know.
He lives here, right?
As far as I know, but he's not here.
You don't have ID on you?
Do I have to give you ID?
Prove you're who you are, yeah. Can I look in the house?
Do you have a warrant?
Yeah, I have a warrant for him, yes, I do.
Do you have a search warrant?
You want me to get one?
If it's necessary.
Do you have a warrant for him? Yes, I do. Do you have a search warrant? Clarifying a distinct kind of warrant, wherein they have to have named the person and places to be searched and found, whatever. Do you want me to get one? That means he doesn't have one yet. Yet he just said he has a warrant. What kind of a warrant? An arrest warrant or a search warrant? One or the other.
I'm gonna tell you right now, if Kevin's in that house and you're hiding him, you're getting charged.
Completely.
Yeah, if Kevin's hiding in that house, then you're hiding him, you're going to get charged. Okay.
Aware of that, but since he's not in there, I'm not scared of you threatening me. If you want to go down.
See, that's a threat, and that's simple. They try to place fear in your heart to try to get you, to coerce you to giving up something that's not true. That's why it's important to know the truth of those definitions and everything they use. Citizen, resident, United States citizen. What are they really? Those are all enterprises, franchises, businesses, financial institutions, financially regulated.
To the point where you need a search warrant to go search in an empty house, then by all means go for it.
What's your last name?
I don't have to give you that. Am I suspected of a crime?
Well, you want to prove your identity to me, right?
I don't have to.
You want to prove your identity to me, right? No, you want me to. See, they're the ones that are always coming after the ID, and now he's trying to flip the table and say, well, you want to prove your identity to me, don't you? That's the problem. Most people sit there and say, yeah.
Is there a warrant for my arrest?
Maybe I want to find that out.
I don't need to give you any information if I'm not suspected of committing a crime, officer. If you're looking for him, not me. I'm not 5'9".
Okay, well, if you have no crime to commit, then why won't you let me look in the house?
Because I don't have to. You don't have a search warrant.
Well, if you see Kevin, I advise you to tell him to turn himself in. If he doesn't, then I can make it hard on him too. And you're the one that's helping him.
I'm not helping him in any way.
This young man was
If you see Kevin, then you tell him and you're helping him. No, he's not. He told you he's not there. He's not helping him. And if he sees him, he'll pass on the message, but he's not helping him. These people are idiots. Total idiots. In my opinion, of course. And again, this is the lunacy at hand. People keep accepting it. Come on.
Well, Senior Airman Roger Fortson shot and killed in the doorway of his own apartment. An arrest warrant is out for the former Okaloosa County Sheriff's deputy who pulled the trigger. Now facing a charge of manslaughter, he could face up to 30 years in prison if convicted. Tonight, a look back at the...
So there's a warrant out for the officer, already implying that he's on the run. And I think this is a few days ago. 2 weeks ago.
case. We again want to warn you, some of the video
So I'll do some research and find out if this guy's still on the loose.
you will see is disturbing.
Step out.
Nearly 4 months after Senior Airman Roger Fortson was shot and killed in his own doorway, former Okaloosa County Sheriff's Deputy Eddie Duran Jr. has been charged with manslaughter with a firearm. It happened on May 3rd at an apartment complex in Fort Walton Beach. The 911 calls coming in requesting deputies respond to a possible domestic dispute.
She called, when she called me, she said that she was calling me because it sounded like it was starting to get out of hand. She said that it sounded like it started getting physical. Well, our deputy is there. Okay. Let me see. We have 2 deputies getting on scene.
Are they fighting or something?
In this body camera video, you can see Deputy Duran knock on the door. After knocking, Deputy Duran...
And notice they said 2 deputies. Okay, here there's only 1 deputy. And they, in most cases like this, they send 2 deputies because it's a, supposed domestic violence call or something.
Duran steps
Officer safety.
away for several seconds before knocking and announcing himself twice more.
Sheriff's office, open the door.
Fortson answers the door, holding a legally owned gun pointing down.
Step out.
Only to be shot 5 times at point-blank range by Deputy Duran. Fortson's family says he was FaceTiming with his girlfriend. He was alone in his apartment at the time of the shooting.
The police just, we believe, use excessive force and execute him. They have my...
Absolutely, because they went on a domestic call and he was the only one there. And they didn't do their due diligence to investigate first. And particularly, like I mentioned earlier, it wasn't they, it was particularly this officer. Again, 2 officers responded. Where's the other officer?
The word. If this shooting is found to be unjustified, their son's name will be fully vindicated and justice will be served.
Deputy Duran was fired in late May after an internal investigation, telling investigators he saw the gun and aggression in Fortson's eyes, adding Fortson made a slight step toward him, which he considered, quote, resistance. Fortson was buried 2 weeks after the shooting. Meanwhile, it was a separate criminal investigation by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement that issued the arrest warrant for manslaughter.
Step out.
112 days after the shooting.
Meanwhile, Fortson's 16-year-old brother, you may remember, was shot and killed at an apartment complex just outside Atlanta late last month.
You guys catch that?
Complex just outside Atlanta was shot and killed. Fortson's 16-year-old brother, you may remember, was... Meanwhile, Fortson's 16-year-old brother, you may remember, was shot and killed at an apartment complex just outside Atlanta late last month. Meanwhile, Fortson's 16-year-old brother, you may remember, was shot and killed at an apartment complex just outside Atlanta late last month. Meanwhile, Fortson's 16-year-old brother, you may remember, was shot and killed at an apartment complex just outside Atlanta late last month.
Order like.
I don't know why it's doing this. And that's a shame. This is the kind of stuff that happens when we put these kind of people in authoritative positions, to turn around and allow it to continue to happen. Greetings, Hassan. You guys go over and check out Hassan Tahir's show. So the lunacy is the simple fact that people that are in the controlling positions of authority do the most insane things, and yet the people keep thinking that they're putting the right people in those positions. I think these positions need to be held by some kind of class and honor rather than 6 months of police training or some shit. Excuse my opinion. So let's get back to it. The next one, well, that's not it. There we go. Son exposes mom. This is for those.
This mom claimed.
This is for those people that think domestic violence.
Her boyfriend had hit her.
Domestic violence is one way, and I tend to think that maybe it's a little bit more the other way, that we have a lot more women abusing men, particularly since we have a much greater class of men that is now, in these modern times, what I call beta cucks. That's just, again, my opinion, though. It's the base foundation why I say it's men's fault. They're not being men.
But her son saved his dad and told officers that she hit him, saving his dad from jail.
We started arguing, he had hit me. And I told him, I said, it's the last time you're going to hit me. I'm just done with it. He needs to get the out of here.
Where did he hit you at?
Right here.
Did you hit him first?
No, I didn't put my hands on him.
How did he hit you? Show me with your hand. Like, what did he do?
Like, I went to grab his phone and he, like, hit me. Like, he went like this and I fell right here.
Why?
I went to grab his phone. Oops, no, wait a minute. Something's missing there. I went to grab his phone. Okay, let's explain that a little bit more. That's my first question.
Son right there was watching out the window while I was trying to get in my home. She came out here and attacked me, dude. I don't hit females.
Chain get all red right here.
She slipped right here. Ask them, ask my son. Didn't hit her.
You're talking to a child?
Yeah, I am.
She came out of the door, and then I heard them screaming, and I looked out the window, and then I seen Brittany hit a punch, and my dad like blocked it like that, and then my dad kind of pushed her off a little bit.
You're going to jail, so let's go.
I'm going to jail.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't do that kind of stuff. That doesn't sound like she tried to take his phone away. In my opinion, it sounds like she outright assaulted him, attacked him. We got to stop this, people. Quit getting with women like this. Women, quit getting with beta cucks that'll allow you to act like this, thinking it's some kind of social status just to be a fucking woman. You ain't special. Takes two to tango.
You're under arrest.
How am I under arrest? No.
This mom claimed her boyfriend.
Yeah, her boyfriend. And he claimed it was his son. They had a closer relationship as father-son than she did as mother and son. That's what it would seem like. Kind of personal and for herself. Using her son as if though he's an idiot and can't make a first-hand witness to what he saw. Seemed pretty old enough and competent enough to do so. Here we go. The competence of vetting people.
A former deputy chief of staff to Governor Kathy Hochul has been charged with acting as an undisclosed agent of the Chinese government. Linda Sun and her husband were arrested today at their home on Long Island. Prosecutors say Sun blocked representatives of the Taiwan government.
Got to reset this.
A former deputy chief of staff to Governor Kathy Hochul has been charged with acting as an undisclosed agent of the Chinese government. Linda Sun and her husband were arrested today at their home on Long Island. Prosecutors say Sun blocked representatives of the Taiwan government from having access to high-level state officials. She's also accused of altering state government messaging on issues related to the Chinese government.
Uh-oh. Altering official documents and records. Ooh, what's up, JG? How you doing today, brother?
I stole some cop's phone. I just got a brand new iPhone.
Hey, nice.
Yeah.
They buy them nice ones, don't they? All right, so let's get back to it. Yeah, espionage, whatever, you know, cybersecurity issues and, you know, electronic messaging, altering them. Oh, yeah, that's Patriot Act stuff. She can't go away.
Hochul's office says Sun was fired in March of 2023. This is a developing story. We will update you both on air and online once we have more information.
Oh, yeah, just another great story as to the competency of these people, man. Oh, my God.
Look at those fake titties, top right.
Right here. 25 celebrity plastic surgery disasters. Yeah.
Yeah,
They
it's
probably turned black and leaked out. Anyway, you think that's wild? Check this one out. Speaking of.
Yeah, got this show for y'all. Got a damn good show. Hey, fellas, man, these women, man, with this makeup. Hey, but this girl right here, she ain't got no teeth, man. I always had a fantasy of being with a woman with no teeth.
Man,
Kim, what's wrong with you? Ain't nothing wrong with me.
No, I understand. There's a lot of people like that.
I heard stories about women with no teeth. That is, man.
Yeah. What do you think about women with no teeth, JG?
They can suck it, but they look like fucking crackheads.
There you go. So necessary this day, even though one is never responsible for another's action, but as brothers keep them, but as brothers keepers, we're supposed to have some kind of positive criticism. That's it. So, positive criticism here, JG. Let's play a little bit more first. Positive criticism. Think about that.
It feel like
I'm finna go to an old folks home and pick up a grandma. Nah, I ain't say all that. Hey, look here. Say all that. Hey, check out this video. Check this out. I had to mute the video because they got like copyrighted music. So
See what happened? She started putting blotches of makeup on and shit, right?
She's still pretty though. Well, she's pretty.
Still ain't got her teeth.
She already
in.
put the makeup on.
Still ain't got her teeth in. She's still adding more blotches of makeup.
Oh wow!
And bam, puts her teeth in and shows an after effect of the makeup job. Got the hair all done up and everything.
Yeah, still crazy looking.
Is that some kind of AI enhancement too? Do you think that's a little bit of AI enhancement in there helping with the makeup job?
I don't know if it's AI. I mean, it's just over the top.
That I'll agree. But my curiosity is to find out face to face if that's really what she looks like, or again, if it's not, at least improved, of course, but if it's not still enhanced even further with AI, that kind of, it's kind of stretching it from what we saw at the beginning, don't you think? Let's see.
Oh,
that's fake
crazy.
teeth put in. Dangerous. Chris Maxey.
Now notice too, she's still thick and wide bodied here, heavy breasted.
Hey fellas, Max, you pick that up.
I don't trust them. That look like all that makeup and looks perfect.
Yeah.
You don't know if it's a man or a woman or what.
Yeah, I don't trust that. Exactly why, right? So I gotta ask, why are men trusting on looks so much?
Dude, it's crazy being in Hawaii. You see so many Asian women, like beautiful Asian women, and I just in my head I'm like, are white chicks dying off?
Yeah,
Like,
you wonder sometimes.
I'm seeing more white people with Asian women. I'm seeing more, like.
I think they want to be more traditional. I think they want a more traditional style family. No matter what the religion, they still have a better sense of a traditional style family where there's a set order of the house. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, I just with like white chicks, it seems like a lot of people just gave up on them, man.
Well, yeah, a lot of people went to hedonism. That's what your successful nations do. They turn to hedonism. The population drops, government finally fails, and they have to do a reset of some sort.
You look at her right She's not bad looking to begin with. She's she's just what? She's not bad. Go to the very beginning.
I want to see her with nothing on.
Yeah, start right at the very beginning. She's not bad looking.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I'll
she looks
say
crazy.
this. Let me pause it. Like,
yeah, she looks crazy right there.
She looks crazy as hell right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just wish they wouldn't let these crackheads have the internet. Like the confidence this lady has, it kills me.
Well, it's amazing the artwork they could put into themselves,
right?
To project in that manner. Like I said, it's all a big popularity contest. That's what everybody wants. If that's what you really want, guys, that's what you get.
Yeah. But if she put teeth, she don't have no teeth in her mouth here.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what's throwing out. If she had teeth in her mouth, she wouldn't look.
Yeah.
Right.
She wouldn't look that bad. She looks crazy right here.
Yeah, with no teeth. No teeth, man.
So the test would be to ask her, get a hold of her, and say, "Hey, can you just take a picture, no makeup, but with your teeth in? See what the difference there would be, and then do the makeup, but maybe not quite so heavy. Give it some reality. Leave it with some reality. That what she ends up with is none of this deep dark line here. That's why I question the AI.
It just ruins the structure of your face.
Yeah. That made her
like
enhance that fast.
Yeah.
Then she get a full set of veneers in her mouth when the good one comes out. You know what I'm saying? That's totally different.
Yeah. Actually, it makes her face
look like a
see how those
Ross.
See how those deep lines aren't in her cheeks? You can't see those at all, so it softens and rounds everything out. And that's what takes the age out of it. And that's why I'm wondering if you could really do that with makeup, or if there's some kind of lighting change through AI to help pull that out.
Painting, they be having the thing he had in his hand with the paint. Damn.
But women are fake, man. It's like
fake.
And it's not just women, men are the same way. It's just that the fakeness is taken to different levels and for different reasons. Beta cut corporate males are fake as fuck, but they do it for the monetary purpose. And then of course, you got the OnlyFans, they're fake as fuck as well. Of course, they do it for monetary purposes. but their aspect of sexuality is totally different. The guy might want to do it to procreate children, but she's doing it for a sexual pleasure. And if he ain't no good, he may not get children in return. You know, it's ridiculous. What do you think, JG? You going to go out and flaunt your seed?
Say it again.
You're going to go out and plant your seed? When are you going to do that?
I think about it all the time, but I'm not financially ready for it, so I keep it to myself.
Good job. Good job.
Right.
Can't blame a man for it, that's for sure. The next one, this again is the lunacy of these adult men that I don't believe are competent, and they show it time and again. And one of those areas, again, is in concern to the very children that we're all supposed to be protecting. And these people believe that they should be arresting them, putting them in handcuffs. Let's take a look at it.
What about you, Keith? You dropping your seed?
Oh, yeah. I've got a couple out there. One passed away and one's 33 years old this year, just last week.
I'm not talking about the past. I'm talking about nowadays.
Behind her back. Now you're resistant. Turn around, put your hands behind your back.
I'm trying to go get my shoes.
Say that again?
Nah, I'm just cracking a joke. I was talking about nowadays. You're going to do that, you know, tomorrow, this year?
You mean, can I anymore?
Are you going to try to get a woman pregnant, Keith?
I can try all I want. Got to be the right one.
Is that possible at 80 years old?
You're a little short there. It's 93.
All right.
All right. So anyway, now understand there's also other information that these people know, and that this child is not of a normal child, supposedly autistic or whatever, and they're still going to put this child in handcuffs. I don't know that there's a process that allows for this kind of shit. If this doesn't show you the mentality of this full-grown man that can't conceive of any way of helping this child out in his situation as if though it was his own child, that kind of tells me why these guys are, tend to be abusive towards their women and children. Because they would put their own child in handcuffs. Don't you get it? Ten-year-old girl with learning disabilities.
Were doing whatever they could in order to solicit a felony charge against a 10-year-old. It's sick.
Absolutely. Trying to solicit a felony charge against a 10-year-old with learning disabilities, saying that she hasn't learned of the law. How fucking idiotic.
I mean, a special needs 10-year-old.
Sounds like assault of a public official.
Sounds like assault of a public official. You fucking beta cuck, fucking coward ass son of a bitch. Excuse my language, JG. Were you offended? I'm sorry. Did it? Damn it.
To do it? Will, it'll help.
Was I offended over what?
Yeah. Want me to do it? I will if it'll help. This is how dumb the teachers are.
Said I was
Excuse my companion.
You're asking me if I'm offended over what?
My insult there towards this.
Are you kidding me, Keith?
And the family says this incident goes against a new Texas bill. I don't care whether it's a new Texas bill or not. It goes against absolute insanity. This guy is insane to even pose this shit. This is what tells me he doesn't have any discernment.
In this situation, she wasn't posing a danger to herself or anyone else at that point in time.
If they'd like her to be released to me, please, are you charging her right this second? If you're not charging right now, are you charging her? She's detained, sir. Okay, you need to release her. No, sir.
Okay. Social Security, Title 11, Section 1101, subsection D. No one shall take charge over a child in the with the, let me pull that up to make sure. Social Security Act, Title 11, Section 1101. Nothing in this act shall be construed as authorizing any federal official, agent, or representative in carrying out any of the provisions of this act to take charge of any child over the objection of either one of the parents of such child or of the person standing in local parentis to such child. Deuteronomy 24:7. Anyone caught stealing one of the children of the brethren of Israel and making merchandise of them under a Title IV contract through Social Security. See, that's why they want that address and the name and all that. They want that identity. They want to identify the record so they can access.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, that beta cuck comment that was implied towards me, huh?
No, not at all. I'm talking about these beta cucks that actually allow this kind of shit.
All right.
As a man, I no, you're not gonna, the state support system, you're not gonna take care of my child for me.
Okay, you asked me if I was offended after saying that, so I kind of got the feeling that you're implying that to me.
No, I was joking, brother.
All right.
I knew you wouldn't be offended.
Right. I got you.
Nope, I was messing with you. So, back to the 10-year-old, finish up. See, they got her handcuffed and in the squad car. And she's sitting there calm somehow. How can she be such? Pay attention to the end again. Oh, and one of the points I wanted to point out, this is that Title 11, Section 1101. He's objecting. No, you don't get the right to do this. You don't get the right to take charge of my child. You want to investigate her and speak with her about her or anything, you've got to go through me. Okay? We need to start learning how to object. No. I'm the one that's supposed to be communicating for her. She's got a learning disability. She doesn't know the law. So she's protected, and I'm her protector. Same thing I do with my companion. No, sir. Yes, sir. You're enforcing a contract. The record will show it. Bonded. Turn around, put your hands behind your back. I'm trying to look at my shoes. 10 years old.
10 years old.
Yep. With a learning disability. Amazing shit.
It's insane. You just walk her out. She's a 10-year-old disabled kid.
Right.
Walk with her.
That shows me this guy has a learning disability that's greater than hers. That's the shame of it. That's the reality of it. How can you see it any other way? He couldn't come to a better logical conclusion than to put the child in handcuffs. Sickening. The next one. Come on. We got one of those classical experiences that I like to kind of impress upon people. I wish I had experiences like this of learning nature. Check this out. Gonna get slobbered. Evidently, this kid's got some experience, right, JG? I mean, a little bitty kid, and he's already got some experience. So Dad's probably been taking him out fishing a long time. But check this out. Look at that excitement. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. This guy come in and slobbered it. Damn near 6 pounds, 5 3/4 pounds. You ever get excited like that, JG? Oh, where'd he go? Where'd he go? Not yet, Lieber Justice. Okay, so, well, without JG, I guess we'll just get on to the next one. This one here is assaulted at the U.S. Postal Service. Okay. She's a postal worker. She just watched an assault happen right in front of her eyes. Yeah, see, the insanity extends beyond the one person. Once it gets started, another person wants to jump in and join the bandwagon. That's a part of the insanity, folks. You have to understand how that works and be able to escape that. That's part of the delusion. He still has no power. Otherwise, one of them would call the police. The problem with that is, like I mentioned, she just stood there and watched an assault happen. And on postal property, under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, needful places and buildings, on Article 1, Section 8, Clause 7, postal roads, she has authority as a federal agent of exclusive jurisdiction for that federal property and not some local municipal cop. Oh, wait a minute. They have an interlocal agreement that everybody uses as a resident or a United States citizen known as an address, where they were indoctrinated in an education system that taught them how to write the legal name with the street name security with its bonded number and the city, state, and zip showing the trust, of which they're supposedly a legal name agent or officer for. Oops. resident. Did you miss something, folks? You were indoctrinated. So let's look at the cops unlawfully detained guy who refuses to ID. We're just trying to identify you. We're just trying to identify you, Y-O-U, an individual who owes a debt to the United States. I'm not a debtor. I don't owe a debt to the United States. You're looking for the wrong person. The individual's name and number identify the record. You better go to Social Security Administration, son. Absolutely. All three of them reiterating the same thing without anything to support it. Just suspicion that they want to pose as some kind of reason that they even come up with. They make up the suspicion. Are you in law enforcement? What difference does it make? Owe no man anything but to love one another, for to love one another is to fulfill the law. I don't enforce it, I fulfill it. While you're sitting there posing that I owe you or someone else a debt. I don't know what the big deal is here, but you can go. Well, then why did your three officers try to make it a big deal? Damn insanity. It's ridiculous. So the next one we got is former President Obama trolls President Biden. I don't know that this is so much trolling. I think he did it on accident, exposing what the reality is behind the scene. Like I said before, I don't think it's been Biden running shit. And they've been talking about, well, Kamala Harris hasn't done anything as vice president. She's been doing everything. Da, da, da. Again, supporting that it's been Kamala supposedly running everything. So let's listen to what he says. Vice President Biden, see, in the mindset of the people that are puppeteers, they know he's not actually the president, he's the vice president. Is that possible? That Biden's never really been the president, he's been the vice president. Is he really mocking him? Did he slip? I don't know. I'm just questioning because it seems awful funny. Notice how he led with his hand, went over and grabbed his hand, and then put his other hand on his shoulder. Body language of dominance. Nah, I think so. I think he was telling the truth there. That was all set up. I think it was all set up. He was vice president. And that she belongs to the streets. Let me repeat that. She belongs to the streets. Let me one more time. She belongs to the streets. Where do you think she came from? Just my opinion, though. I doubt it. I doubt it. My president. He just patted him on the back. That's a body language for dominance. I don't think he was my president unless maybe he's one of them puppeteers. You think? I don't know. Just trying to hope I get other people to maybe think about some things. Just my opinion. And I'm just a conspiracy theorist. I'll put it out there, get people to think about it. While some theories come to be found to be true. So let's look at the next one. Where again, it's the law is for thee and not for me. It don't make no difference. He's showing that he already made communication and that he's going to the hospital. See, this would imply that this guy might think he has a license to practice medicine and therefore discern that his legal licensure or lawful licensure is something that would allow him to do so as well. And that would be using two titles at once or something like that. I don't know. Greetings, Iman. How you doing tonight, sister?
Oh, I'm good, brother. I just had a question, but go on. I'll ask it later.
All right. Are you hearing this video?
Huh?
Were you hearing this video? Somebody's saying there's no audio.
No, I was hearing it just fine.
All right. You get to the hospital, you're going to have a pair of handcuffs waiting on you. That's a threat, folks. Okay? See, if he had a reason to arrest him, he'd put him in handcuffs now. Insurance wouldn't cover ambulance costs. Absolutely. I think they should go through much sensitivity training. I think these young men and women, again, are much too emotional and very thoughtless because they've been educated in a public education indoctrination system teaching them to remember this instead of using their logic and reason for thought processes. They use their emotions in the now time instead of logically processing the things that are going on. Fired. Absolutely. He's a danger to the very society that he has sworn to protect. Now here we go. We got an Army Sergeant Major with some new standards. Reminder, this is a military government. And in that military government, it's all the legislation that we're dealing with the insanity of standards and this DEI shit. Those standards aren't being followed because of DEI. Fuck the standards. We need to include people because they're of a different classification through some kind of taxonomy. So let's pay attention. Standards and discipline can't. Just can't be some whimsical thing we throw around. You can't say, well, the standard is now transgender. Like I said before, we're going to find ourselves soon moving to a transhumanism. Welcome back, sister. What do you think about that?
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, but it's not letting me mute. Okay, so it's good that you can hear me. Okay, because part of my screen is not all there, but that's good. You can mute me because it won't let me mute.
Got it then. So, as this guy is saying, there are certain standards that you can't just work around. It can't be for your convenience that you change the standards so that you can include transgender because you included gays or bis or homosexuals or anything like that, or feminists or civil rights, including other races and stuff other than white, this and that. Whatever their taxonomy is, that's a classification. If you want to fall to that classification, then you fall to that standard. When you find out the standard can't be met and it's an impossibility, then it can't be thrown around. Engage leadership. Oof. That one we throw around a lot, right? Because these people engage in leadership, or do they? I'm just doing my job. You'll have to talk to my boss, thereby giving up the leadership. How ironic. Not for release yet, but it's coming. 2.0 Army Blue Book. Army Blue Book. I've got the, what is it, the Navy Blue Book? Where is it? Well, I moved it somewhere, so I'll have to find it. But I've got the Navy's Blue Jacket Manual.
Brother Keith.
Yes, yes, yes.
Is that blue book? Is it a manual or a guide for putting together legal documents?
No, it's an internal guide for their military script. In other words, their orders and commands and demands and how they're structured. It's kind of like their constitution. It holds their ethics and obligations.
So the written format in it would be in a particular style writing. Am I correct, or language?
Well, yeah, they would have their own grammar, yeah. Military grammar. And greetings, the fallen. How you doing tonight?
Doing good. Had to run back to my phone. You caught me away from it. No, I'm doing good. Yeah, I was
Good.
just wondering. One of the things is I clicked on here because I don't know why I couldn't hear those videos, but I could hear you fine, but not the video. So I figured maybe if I came on here, I'd be able to hear the videos. I don't know.
Huh. Well, we will check it out. Let me do this. View on YouTube.
I don't know if I was the only one watching on YouTube or not.
Okay.
Yeah, that's so weird. I can't hear that at all. I can see that guy's
Yeah.
lips moving.
Yeah, same here. I can see his lips moving, but no volume.
You can see the lips moving, but you can't hear it?
Right. Correct.
Huh. I don't know.
I don't know. You're loud and
Well,
clear.
I'll have to double check it when I get done here because on my end, I pulled up view on El Perro and it's showing volume and everything.
Oh, I'm on.
David Allen
Yeah, okay.
Parsons says no sound. You can hear me, but no sound on the video, David?
Same here, Brother Keith. I can hear you just fine, but no sound.
Hey, I'll third that one.
Let's do it this way. I'm going to drop out, refresh, and I'll be right back, and we'll just start over. It should restore the sound. Okay, let me pull her up again. Okay, let's try this, guys. You guys can hear me?
Yes.
All right. Let me know if you can hear this.
A lot of hard work. But I will tell you, if in my tenure, we can get focused.
Yes. That
All right.
worked.
Okay, so let's listen to it, guys.
Standards and discipline can't just be some whimsical thing we throw around. You know, it's like the term engaged leadership. Oof, that one we throw around a lot, right?
Yep, that's where I talked about we're just doing our job.
Can you hear me, Brother Keith?
Yes, I can.
I see his lips moving on my end, but I don't hear any sound from the video.
Well, we're all getting sound now.
Okay.
That's weird.
Huh. Do a reset on yours. Go out and come back in. Wait for her to come back and she should be back any second here.
So Keith, while we're waiting, what should that lady done at that postal office? Since I couldn't hear it or whatever, that you said she witnessed that assault.
Yeah, she witnessed an assault. She's a mandatory reporter to any crimes on federal property.
Oh, so her mistake was she didn't report or she didn't witness.
Right. She was standing right there looking right at him when it happened. I mean, the guy was causing a problem. She didn't have anybody at the window. He was the next one at the window. She watched it go down. Didn't say anything. So, let's see if she can hear it this time. Let me know, Iman.
Means a lot. Different things to different people. Standards and discipline can't mean a lot of different things to different people.
Can you hear that?
Yes, I can.
Awesome, awesome. So what we're talking about is those standards have to go across the board and apply to everybody. These are the ethics that we're talking about, of the simplicity of knowing right from wrong. We have a moral direction that tells us that these kinds of decisions are good and right. These kind of decisions maybe not quite so. They can have a little issue. These kind of decisions, oh yeah, it's problematic, you know. So there's like an autism scale, there's a scale of right and wrong, good and bad. And we have to discern to try to keep our moral compass on the good end of things. This is the ledger in the commercial system that says red or black. You pick.
You know, I'll give you a quick peek here since we're also on video here, but like this is 2.0 of the Army Blue Book. Not for release yet, but it's coming. And this little thing, it's not magical, right? This thing's not going to cure cancer. This isn't going to make everybody, you know, part of, you know, the 300 because everybody wants to be a Spartan. You just don't want to do the work that's required to be a Spartan, right? Because it requires sacrifice and a lot of hard work. But I will tell you, if in my tenure, we can get focused back to what it means to have standards and
focus back, knowing that this is implying that he knows that we've gotten astray of it. So if we get back to that standard of ethics where we're doing good on each other instead of creating all these false commercial wars. That's truly what they are, again, in my opinion. Yes, legalese and military codes. Like I said, it's a military government operating through a corporate entity that allows for the people to be indoctrinated through the public education system to believe that there's some kind of gift in that nationality without teaching them what that gift really is as a business and how to run it. So everything's an implied contract, and as soon as you sign in that representative capacity as a blank endorsement, then the presumption sits that you applied what was implied, and that's the assumption that you now presume is you. You.
Now, Brother Keith, as you were mentioning that, I came up on something today. I don't know if you heard the term. It's called ERDS, Edward Roger David Sam. Have you ever heard of that acronym?
Or I might have.
It's called Entity Relationship Diagrams. And what it is, it's a computer generated import and export of information into electronic device. And what it is, it has 3 boxes. The first box has what they call the client ID, and under the client ID, they have the F like in Frank for first name for the first line. They have the L for the second line for the last name, L and then name. And then they have the address, the phone, and the email. And then the second box that's created, you can create the second box as a company name, and that box will have orders. That's where you will enter orders. And the first one will be an ID column, and then it will have another order that will have a Q. I don't know if it's that qualification. I'm not sure. And then the third one, the order would be amount, and then the last column would be the client ID. And then the third box is called a billing, would be labeled billing, and then the column would have for billing ID, billing date, billing amount, client ID, and client order. And when I was looking at that and I saw it, when I saw the F and the F was for firm, not first name, but firm name. And
Firm,
the L was
firm registry.
right. And the thing was, what's something about it, you can adapt this for almost any type of what they call entity relationship,
Yep.
to show a relationship between tables. Isn't that interesting?
Yep. That's what we're working at when we put that birth certificate on deposit with the Postal Service for that specific reason. It provides the connection with the account that has a firm registry and a dispatch manual. So you can dispatch your articles or you can register the mails. See, the mails are entered into the mail system, or you have your own private articles that are passed through the mails. This is why it's important to understand the pass-through. All freedom of transit is guaranteed throughout all territories of the Union.
Well,
So
the
you use it as
system,
the pass-through.
right, but the way it was created, you remember that diagram you had with the birth certificate and vital statistics, and they had all those different boxes and different shapes and so forth? This diagram is created in the similar manner as that one that you were showing for birth certificates, and that was kind of really interested that I came up on that today.
Yeah, right there. Current birth registration process for a state vital records jurisdiction. And it's the individual's name and number that identify the record. That record is exclusive. So this is an exclusive jurisdiction, just like the Postal Service's exclusive jurisdiction. An
So
equal,
Keith,
an equal station in life. Go ahead.
I have a question. So when you showed this diagram and you say that, or the idea is there's no birth registration within the United States. So then what does that diagram then represent?
Represents that it was registered in the state at the county registrar and the state registrar with the governor.
And that's what excludes it from no birth registry in the United States? When
Yeah,
everybody's subjected the state to the United States?
well, look at this. I'm going to show you a question. Okay, we see my screen here, it's blank, and we're going to put in, is there a birth certificate in the United States? This is a question I've asked before. When we hit return, under the American Bar Association, birth certificates, American Bar Association. We click on that. And we go down here to a section called a decentralized system, and it tells us right here, in the United States, there is no national federal birth registry. So there are no births registered in the United States. There's no such record. They admit this.
Right. But okay, so when that's outlined right there, it says there is no national federal. What does that mean to you? National federal.
Federal, as in federal government, would be federal government means all entities of the government of the United States, including United States Postal Service as the registered agent and the Postal Regulatory Commission, which of course would be the principal then.
So then when you were showing that diagram that you just showed, when it was saying, when you were claiming that that's within the state, then what makes that different than that national federal? Then if that diagram's supposed to work of how the birth certificate
because none of them are federal. Every birth is registered at the state level. It never moves beyond the state. It remains in the state until somebody takes it from the state and hands it to the United States. Otherwise, it's never registered, certified, or anything.
So who would hand it? Who would take it from the state and hand it to the United States, which is a corporation or...
The one that can perfect it, the one whose name is on it.
And if that person holds it or perfects it, then they can't become the you.
Correct. It prevents them
So,
from any. It prevents them from pooling it with with other securities to be registered under some other name. It allows the name to be known and not to be used for any kind of pooling of securities. It is
so,
independent and of its own.
so when you say as a business or as a, it's like you learn to do it as a business or whatever, then to say to sign the contract is like, then I'm kind of confused on then what your definition of business would be. Or is if it's like for that business, or is that really trust? Is it business or trust?
Well, you have to understand the terms trade or business. That means trade or business, as they're defined in their code, means the performance of the functions of public office. Let me show you something in 31 CFR 1010.100, general definitions. And this again is money and finance, treasury, regulations to money and finance, financial crimes enforcement network, Department of the Treasury, general provisions, general definitions. It says when used in this subchapter and in forms prescribed under this chapter were not otherwise distinctly expressed or manifestly, remember I told you about the manifold dispatch, you're going to have a manifest, incompatible with the intent thereof. So it creates, there's an impossibility. It's incompatible. Otherwise distinctly expressed or manifestly incompatible with the intent thereof, terms shall have the meanings described in this subpart. So when you find an impossibility, you're able to apply those other definitions pursuant to the intent, because the intent doesn't match. It's incompatible.
So what would you claim? So what is the claim of the intent? I mean, in that birth registry,
non-financial. It's a matter of birthright. So in that birthright, what you did was you held my birthright until I came forth as the beneficiary and claimed it. I'm claiming it. The value is still there.
And so that's after somebody has taken it and put it into federal, or is this before, or it cures that from being put into federal?
No, that's what we're doing, is we're putting it into the federal hands so they can do the automated clearing. The state is the debt collector, claiming the residents are the debtors. Okay? They pool everything up in their name and hand it to the United States. If we get it in our name, we're the only one whose name is in. We hand it to the United States, guess what? We get the credit. Make sense? We're just redirecting the credit from where it came. We're not the debtor.
So, brother, just like what you're explaining to the gentleman and what the diagram that you showed before and what I locate today, because I was thinking about algebra and quadratic formulas and alphanumerics, and that it seems like what the matrix is all about when they created this system to put us in, because it says ERDS and it says welcome to the electronic report deliverable submission system, and it says it's a secure system for electronic submission, capture, tracking, and review of R&D contract deliverables. And then it says, warning, this is a U.S. government computer system which may be assessed and used only for authorized government business by authorized personnel. Unauthorized access or use of this computer system may subject violators to criminal, civil, and or administrative actions. And it seems like that same system that you showed with the birth statistics and this with the birth certificate system, with the census, with the Census Bureau, as well as the diagram that you see, is no different. They're calling it a deliverable submission system. So is
Correct.
that considered involuntary servitude information that they're collecting when they're using these IDs and different certifications of documents and instrumentalities?
That's what the doctor delivers.
See, I have a question on that because, oh, geez, I just had it. It was really weird. It's that delivery system, like you said, that's what the doctor does, but it's almost like, well, that also is what you were claiming, or not claiming, but the information came around to being that resident. It's like in that catch-22, like if you're using that system, are you then making that claim upon yourself that you're a resident of having the know-how or the right basically to do that when we really don't, because if we knew, we weren't residents.
Right. We didn't take upon an oath of office to perform the trade or business. That's the performance of the functions of public office. And just acting similarly, it raises that presumption. Until you rebut that presumption that I'm not performing a trade or business, I'm conducting my own private affairs and it's none of your business, leave me alone. I don't need any third-party officious intermeddlers or interlopers or anything. I'm fully competent. I can manage my own affairs.
So then those warnings about that system or that ER, then those aren't really bogus, but you have to, like, you can use that system, but you shouldn't use it. Like, why is that warning even there?
No, you have to understand the system for how it's used. Again, I'm going to tell a little story about when I went to the emergency room one time and was suffering from some pain, and they handed me a little document to enter myself into the emergency ward and have me looked over. And the very top of the document, it says sales agreement. So upon reading it and looking at the information and marking things off on the back, and I'm not going to pull it out and read it verbatim right now, but in a sense, it said basically, and I'm cutting it short and giving you a basic sense of what the comment says, and it's a contract clause. And it says, customer agrees to make third-party payment so long as it's understood that credit is given to the customer's account. So if I'm going to receive credit for making the payment, what do I make the payment in? Equal consideration for equal benefit. So if I'm going to benefit by receiving credit to my account, shouldn't I extend credit as the equal consideration? What goes wrong with that process? Why are we not allowed to do that? Is that loss of the informed use of credit? It's all just simple knowledge. Basic logic and reason. Knowing the simple contract terms of equal consideration and equal benefit, things being of like kind. If you're going to receive credit, shouldn't you extend some kind of credit? What gives you credence? What gives you that credence?
Okay, so if I was to just say off the top of my head that everything that you just said in that explanation, I would say to me sounded like word salad. So, and then if you said, well, you know, these things hold true where this doesn't hold true, so how can we not give credit where credit is due? It's like, how do we even understand that third party credit would be taken as a clause to a sales agreement to understand that whatever credit the third party gives is a credit that we receive that we also give to a first party.
Right. Understand the terms benefactor versus beneficiary. And we'll look at that here in a minute. I want to finish up with Title 31 first here, because Title 31 goes on to 5311 for declaration of purpose. And like I said, it's criminal, tax, or regulatory investigations, risk assessments, or proceedings, or intelligence or counterintelligence activities, including analysis, to protect against terrorism, whether it be foreign or domestic. Okay. Oops. Wrong one. Why did I go there? Oh, because I want to go here. Definitions and application at 5312. Financial agency means a person acting for a person, except for country, a monetary or financial authority acting as a monetary or financial authority, or an international financial institution of which the United States government is a member. So anything in here, you can just cut out and read. Financial agency means a person acting for a person as a financial institution. You got a wallet in your pocket there, guys? That's a financial institution. You instituted a financial system into your life. Bailee, depository trustee. You're the one making the deposits, right? Or agent, resident. No person shall reside within the zone except federal, state, or municipal officers or agents whose resident, and everybody's claiming that resident. You're claiming to be an agent or officer. Performing trade or business, which is the performance of the functions of public office. Or acting in a similar way related to money, credit, securities, gold, a transaction in money, credit, securities, or gold, or a service provided with respect to money, securities, futures, precious metals, stones, and jewels, or a value that substitutes for currency. So merely acting in a similar way related to.
That's the real clause of the whole thing. When you're like, you can cut out all of those words, but what you have highlighted right there, in a similar way related to, this, I mean, that's like vague, right?
Absolutely. It's telling you that anything you can use in an exchange where you're acting as a financial authority, acting as a monetary or financial authority, or in a similar way related to.
But that all relates back to that word person and financial agency.
No, related. That's your freedom of association. Are they related somehow? That's why I said the third party, the customer agrees to pay third party expenses, or as third party, whatever, however you end up phrasing it. Customer as third party agrees to make payment so long as the credit is given to the customer's account. Or customer agrees to make third party payment so long as it's understood that credit is given to the customer's account. There are specific ways you can phrase this so that the return credits are applied. Equal consideration, equal benefit. I'm going to give you credit that's going to charge up your system of credits.
So what if somebody thought about it this way? Is going, okay, if I have a third party, let's say I have this credit card, and I pay with that credit card, And then that third party pays that, but because of that third party paying, my account then has to be credited with that shows payment in full on that party because that third party actually paid them. So I get credited as being paid, but then I have to pay this second party or other third party back monthly dues
Correct.
or whatever.
Correct. Because the card is in the business name. You're operating in the trust. So the money goes for the business, but it's an asset of the trust.
And the trust would be the enumeration at birth.
Correct. And it has to be connected. So we have that postal service, the master trust account with a Postal One online trust account for the trust that ties up with the general ledger.
So what gives that ultimate authority to the postal service? Is it the military or is
Yeah.
it the residency?
Well, yeah, it's the residency in a military zoning district. And you claim the residency. You claim to be the legal fiction, the legal name. You put it on an address every time you write down address, and you put down the legal name with the street number or the building number with the street name security. That's known as a street name security. The municipality created the street name. They have a bond with the Postal Service that creates an exclusive jurisdiction for that address.
Now, Brother Keith, does that address, the name, and that information that's applied to an application, is that considered the principal then? Is that considered the principal?
Well, yeah, you're using principal's property, which is the Postal Regulatory Commission. And its registered agent is the Postal Service.
What makes it regulatory?
It's the Postal Regulatory Commission. Understand, it's a military form of government. That's why it's a commission. Greetings, King Stephen. How you doing tonight?
Hello. I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. And this, guys, is related to the give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar and give unto the Father what belongs to the Father. Going forth with your talents. The parable of the talents is what the Lord's money consists of. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. That's the principle of your talents. Go forth and teach other people your talents.
So then, Brother Keith, I put the link in there for you for this. It's a government site. So it seems like if it says you're fishing, teach a man to fish for a day, or you feed a man a fish for a day, and then you feed him for a lifetime. It sounds like this system that they've instituted, the E.R.D.S system, is similar. It's for import and exporting of fishing, where they collect data information, and so it can be recorded, it can be intercepted, it can be copied, read, disclosed, but it cannot be anyway, it seems like it can only be used by who's authorized to use the system. So why are they using it against us?
Well, it seems more like it's set up for a philanthropic process rather than a charity process. Charity is right now, whereas philanthropic is at the end of the lifetime. So right now would be during the lifetime, and the philanthropic would be the effect. So they're doing a research as a philanthropic process, gathering information. That's all it is. There's a difference between philanthropy and charity. Big difference. But the next one we want to look at here is the reports on domestic coins and currency transactions. And we've got King Stephen with us. How you doing tonight?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good. You got any thoughts on the talents comment I just made?
The talents about teaching people to fish?
Right. When you go forth with your talents, as far as the parable of the talents goes, and earning your keep by doing so, rather than hiding them and securing them away and not profiting from them. So you go forth and do that for prosperity and abundance and replenishment and all that. Cup welleth over, those kind of concepts. That's the true money of the Lord, is that it embeds itself into profit and prosperity and abundance. It does it itself. You don't have to create a fiction to make it seem like it through inflation and taxation and interest and all of that.
Right. Well, I try to teach people how to think and how to see for themselves. But I've also said to people that I can't see for them. I can just point in the direction and say, hey, there's a sunset there. It's beautiful. Look this way with me. If they look that way and say, I don't see the sunset and it's right there, I'm like, it's right there, but I can't see for them. I can help them look in a certain direction and give them advice and teach them and say, this is how to see this. But it's up to them ultimately to choose.
Right. And that's why I say, look at your receipts. When it says on their U.S. debit, so if you go through the process of connecting that title, expenses incidental to transfer the title to the agency, to the United States, and to the Postal Service, like I'm talking, you're connecting that title with an account that's connected to the general ledger. So when you get those receipts that you get back and it says U.S. debit, you can use those as cash items that you can then give a special direct deposit into that account so they can balance it with the general ledger and extend those credits back to you, because that's what it's reflecting. It's reflecting a U.S. debit. You got to balance the account. Sounds simple.
It does sound simple, but to the point of that going, okay, those Federal Reserve notes is what would balance the account.
No, the credits. Again, if I'm going to,
that's what that is. The Federal Reserve note is a credit.
No, it's a bank. It's a bank note. It's a reserve note. It's a note. It's a promise to pay. A credit is something that you already have and you extend.
Right, such as, let's say, a credit card. It's like something that they've given you that a value that lets you extend that credit to somebody else. But then that third-party payment, like you were talking about, then if that works or they extend that credit, then it has to be put on your payment plan as you paid it, even though you didn't pay it, some third party paid it, which then you have to pay back with, let's say, a Federal Reserve note.
Right. And so that third party is the indispensable interest party in interest, which is the United States. They're the ones that hold that obligation of full faith and credit to balancing that record. So if it's out of balance with the general ledger, then the Postal Service, under that master trust account, has a responsibility to research and resolve that issue within 3 days. So every week, or every bi-weekly or bi-monthly, every 2 weeks, bi-monthly, monthly, or quarterly, or even biannually or yearly, you can report to the Postal Service instead of the IRS. And what you report is all the cash item receipts that you get that say U.S. debit when you use that card.
Does Jack Talcott of the Postal Service know about this stuff?
Of course not. People don't want to listen to me.
Jack was here earlier, wasn't he?
Yeah, I saw him.
He doesn't know about all this stuff?
No, nobody researches this stuff like I do. I'm the only one that does it. Nobody else wants to listen.
I have an idea or something to say about when somebody said, you know, you can lead like a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You can say, hey, there's this beautiful sunset over there, but there's something about something biblical that says, you know, sometimes in that aspect, it's like if somebody could actually see, there would be like 1,000 angels like surrounding this place ready to make an action, but it's almost like they're being blinded, whether it's because of their own ignorance or because of like that indoctrination
It
that
could be
keeps them.
spiritual, though. It could be
Well, yeah,
spiritual blindness and not
yeah,
because of the
we know that already.
right.
Let's get on with the rest of this because I'm trying to point
Okay, let's
something out here,
go
guys.
ahead. Let's go ahead.
And this is we saw 5311 and 5312, right? Definitions and application. We saw the financial agency, monetary authority, pressure metals, values as substitutes for currency. And the previous one, declaration, where it gave us against terrorism, criminal tax or regulatory investments, blah, blah, blah. So as we go forward.
I have something for you, Keith, real quick while you're looking for that. What
No,
gives that third party that authorization to give you that card as a debit?
I don't know. The reports on domestic coins and currency transactions. Remember, we're using their fiat currency. And it says, when a domestic financial institution, this is the presentation of that resident, you're considered a financial institution, is involved in a transaction for the payment, receipt. Remember, I said you those receipts. It's martial law, Article 38. Commanding officers shall cause receipts to be issued so the spoliated owner may obtain indemnity or transfer of the United States coins or currency, which is that fiat currency, a Federal Reserve note, checks, money orders, all those. Those are fiat currencies or other monetary systems the Secretary of Treasury prescribes. That's all those instruments they prescribe. In an amount, denomination, or amount and denomination, or under circumstances the Secretary prescribes by regulations, the institution and any other participant in the transaction the Secretary may prescribe shall file a report on the transaction at the time and in the way the Secretary prescribes. So when you take upon that identification of those monetary instruments as the financial institution, as a resident holding that ID or driver's license or whatever, you become susceptible to the Secretary. But yet there's no minutes of the meeting. A participant acting for another person shall make the report as the agent or bailee of the person and identify the person for whom the transaction is being made, distinguishing that they still have knowledge of two different types of persons.
So the
I have
question
a
with
question.
that, Brother Keith, if the card is issued to, was issued to the people, the private people, to be used in that sense of commerce, does it mean that now when the credit is being extended, it is extended to who are borrowers and lenders? And then the borrowers and the lender, they're the ones who are the obligor in order to make payment, right? So if they're
Right.
obligated to make payment, then how is it that, with the credit and debit, are they isn't there an increase? Would there be a decrease with the an increase with the debit and a decrease with the credit?
No, it would be a decrease with the debit and an increase with the credit. Revelations 18:6. Give unto her double what she gave unto you. When you get that birth certificate, it's got a $250,000 value, and you give it to them for double the value. Now they get $250,000. Guess what? The same amount, equal consideration, equal benefit, comes back to you as $250,000 in credit. They get $250, you get $250, but you give them $500,000 so they can make that discernment for themselves and make sure it's under full faith and credit. It's their own full faith and credit. They damn well better accept it.
Okay, so that means the borrowers and the lenders, if they're the ones doing the trading, the inside trading, they're supposed to give you your cut, and then you give them a percentage for doing that and making that extra funds come back so that you can give the percentage, and they gave you the greater because you're the one who actually extended credit for them to be able to do that, correct?
Correct, and that's only if you intend to do investments. Otherwise, it's merely just a correction of the records. They have no involvement in it at all. You don't bring in insider trading, nothing. You just do the equity part of settling the record. If you then turn around and settling that record and decide you want to use a investment tool known as a person and create one to do so, then you're playing a battle of forms. You're entering into a war.
So where does the 250 come from? Who decided that and going, that birth certificate is this, and therefore you have to act on that?
Okay, so you settle the record and it comes up with a determined amount. Double it. Whatever it is, double it. I'm not saying 250,000. I'm saying, say you got 250,000, you double it as the value. So if you end up with 10 million, you give them 20. Say, hey, on the condition I get equal consideration, equal benefit, and full faith and credit, I'm faithfully, in good faith, giving you 20 million in credits.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay.
Sorry, go
So,
ahead.
Brother Keith, if they're utilizing what they receive as a benefit when they're doing the inside trading and investing, so does that mean that the ones who are doing the trading on the inside, when they're doing the system of bonding, then you can hold them accountable by wagering a higher bid, and so when
No, you
you
can't.
wager them,
You can't hold them accountable, but you can outbid them.
so you can outbid them. So therefore, if they're trying to bring a charge for you, a charge against you, and you outbid them, then they'll be left holding the bag. Is that correct?
No, they just can't invest. The
Oh, okay.
investment's already there, but now that everybody knows you're the principal, and as a principal, you get to give directives. So go ahead and make it for the 30-year bond, but make sure that it goes to my estate. I agree as third-party customer to make this payment so long as it's understood that when it matures, the credit is given to the customer's account. You're stipulating your equity in it first and foremost. This transaction wouldn't happen without me. As it proves, all these beta cuck males that wanted to bid on it before decided not to bid because they couldn't bid like me. Perfect. I'm the only one that can perfect the title. Don't let them underbid you.
So I'm just trying to figure this out because it sounds like this is all just made up.
It
I
is.
mean,
What
I
do you
don't
think
mean
they do with
disrespect.
what do you think they do with Federal Reserve notes? They make up an excuse to declare a war, declare a disaster, so they can call it an emergency, so then declare a war on it, and then use their program of economic warfare against it, so they can create more money to funnel into the system, to generate more funds into the system. That's all they're doing.
So is that like a
Created out of thin air, a fear-based system of debt.
So is that like a 3-card Monte game?
Absolutely. You want to play that gamble, you play that gamble. Otherwise, you understand you're in the house of God. If you want to play any gamble, you use his chips. Give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar.
Or like you said, in some way, it has to be you don't play at all. It's almost like that nuclear war game. You just don't play at all. It's like
Right.
that's the only way to win is don't play.
Right. And that's what I'm telling them. And I'm not going to play their games anymore. It's going to be a matter of establishing the private estate trust for its beneficial legacy heirs, not for the public.
But that's made up too. I mean, in some aspect, that has to be made up.
No, it's a matter of learning how to teach your younger ones how to keep their mouths shut and not make a public record. If they lose the public record, they lose track of the assets.
Or they lose trust.
Absolutely.
So that means, Brother Keith, if there's no participation on the private side, that means all their shenanigans and the contracting and the trading will collapse everything, and then it'll be null and void. So everything should go back to zero. Is that correct?
That's if everybody does that, but no, that's never going to happen. There are going to be slaves. That's why government is needed. Again, interestingly enough, if you understand how the government works, you can protect yourself. But that's the only way you can do it is by yourself. You must do this individually. You must learn, study to shew thyself worthy and approved. Otherwise, he's not going to approve you. That's who you need the approval of. Not me, not some college professor, not some guy that knows trust law, not some judge on the bench making his discernment about equity or common law or trust or nothing. You have to know it in your heart. If you want equity, you must first come with equity. The only way to know it is the knowledge of the firsthand experiences that put you through it. Learn how to communicate with each other with nothing but truth and logic and reason, and keep the emotions out of it.
And learn how to govern yourself.
Yep. And as it says here, a participant acting for another person. So you gotta learn how to quit acting for another person, and know that it's the living soul that is making a presentment of the manual presence, present, not representation. So let's look at the next one. Records and reports on foreign financial agency transactions. Again, those are those records and reports. What is a receipt? It's a report. You got it. You went to a port. You handed over a bunch of products onto this conveyor belt. At a warehouse. And they gave you a receipt. That's a warehouse receipt with the U.S. debit. It says U.S. debit. Are you a United States person? Or are you a foreign financial agency on the domestic soil that has a right to be spoliated owner and receive indemnification for that very receipt? Equal consideration, equal benefit by matching it up with that master trust account as a receipt of that very trust they established and then issued that receipt with.
So are the Baileys the ones who are holding all the receipts? They're the ones who are holding it until the people come forward.
Again, you're supposed to be acting as a Bailey or an agent. That's a legal term. You are not acting as a Bailey or agent. You are acting as a benefactor who gave to the beneficiary. You are the primary one, and as a benefactor, you're the one that places all the facts on the records. You're the one that made the mistakes, and you're just stepping forward and fixing those mistakes.
So how did we get that trust account?
It's Postal One online master trust. I did a series of 43 videos reconciling the master trust account. And greetings, Jason. How you doing tonight, brother? Hello? All right. Well, we'll just continue on. And it says, considering...
Okay, one quick question, Brother Keith. So is there a need for anyone to create a trust? Because if the trust is already set up, it would seem like it's for private men and women to be able to correct the record and control any errors by making corrections. I don't see that.
And if you keep that information out of the public record, then they don't have any information to come forward with and try to make a false claim.
Thanks for letting me in. Appreciate it, guys.
You bet. Welcome, Jason. And before we go on, what do you got going on, Jason? You been listening for a while or what?
Oh, I've been listening for a long time. I'm just now starting to digest the information that you've been given. This stuff is way over my head. I'm assuming you're talking about operating through trusts, or no?
Correct. And most imperatively, what we're talking about now is the express trust. You have to learn, in order to be able to express any of their kinds of trust, to rebut their presumptions and at least establish a record that they can't confligate anymore. That's posing, again, that contract. Equity imputes an intent to fulfill an obligation. So if you want equity, you must first come with equity. That means you have to have the intent to help fulfill an obligation in that equal consideration and equal benefit. This is equal stations in life. Jeremiah 51:31. One post shall run to meet another, messenger to messenger, shewing unto the king of Babylon that the city is taken at the other end. This is studying to shew yourself worthy and approved, rightly dividing the word of truth. And you have an equal station in life to do that against anybody that would would place any false judgment. No tongue shall prosper against you, and ye shall rise up against any judgment and condemn them. For this is the inheritance of the Lord, of the servants of the Lord, and their inheritance, or their righteousness, is in the inheritance.
Thank you for that.
That's all we're doing is correcting the records. It doesn't belong there. It belongs here as an entitlement. And I'm the equity holder. Postal Service is the title holder. And therefore, that trust is established. But in that, because it was merged with a new estate trust, the other one is collapsed, because now the Postal Service, which was the equity holder, is now the title holder of the old title, the United States person, the business. That's why it's a resurrection in a new name.
So you're not talking about establishing an express trust. You're saying there's already one established.
Correct. And what we're doing is resurrecting it with a new expression.
Okay.
So Brother Keith, what does that mean through Social Security Administration? Because when they get you into, for the month,
everything,
the birth certificate and
all of it,
Social Security card, would the correction form or application that you can do the correction, would you now make that on the SS4 form? Because they got you.
No, I'm not gonna. No. I'm not gonna fill out any more of their forms.
Amen.
Right. I'm not saying you have. I'm saying you're not gonna fill out the form, but would you use the SS4 to make any corrections as far as writing out your own statement?
Well, the way to correct things is not through the terms in their forms. It's through equity. In that, the equity will tell you what terms to use according to whatever they're speaking on to help correct them. Oh, you said administrator. No, or agent. No, I'm not an agent. I'm not an administrator. I'm the executor of the trust that is being probated. I'm the executor.
Why was there an express trust created?
As a matter of routing. Understand, the legal name with a street name and its securitized bonding number with the city, state, and zip is the express trust. You've been indoctrinated to act as an agent for that express trust. It's a misidentification, and it needs a resurrection in a new name.
Are you talking about the ens legis?
Absolutely. When an officer comes and approaches me and asks me for my identification, I'm sorry, I don't have anything. Oh, well, what's your name? I don't have a name either. Well, everybody's got a name. No, real men have real callings. Persons have names. There's a distinct difference between nouns and adjectives. As a living soul, my mom and dad used to call me Keith. If they got mad at me, they might call me Keith Orland. Now, I hail from the family Little, and I was born around August 20th, 1966. Now, if that officer wants to write it down as a ens legis, the legal name, and a birth date, I never gave him any such information.
He assumed that information.
Absolutely. And I will testify to that on the stand. And he will have to be able to explain himself, and he can't. He doesn't know the difference. He will show himself to be a babbling idiot. Doesn't know the law. What is the law? Well, it has to do with the words. In beginning was the Word, and the Word was with law, with God, and the Word was God. If we don't have God, we don't have any law. That's where all of the laws came from.
So I'm with you. I agree with you that you shouldn't be filling out any of their forms. A lot of people teach that you should do a corrected SS5 or an SS4 or all of that stuff. I don't believe we should be filling out their documents if we're not their person.
Right. I agree too. And it seems like the foreign trade zone is the project. The zone improvement plan is the project where they do all this through the foreign trade zone, through what they got us to pretend to be these trustees in a service I can't think of the word I want to say, but
a receivership. A receivership.
Yes, a receivership, yes.
So pay attention to this. This is the next one. 31 U.S. Code 5314, records and reports on foreign financial agency transactions. And look what it says here. Considering the need to avoid impeding or controlling the export or import of monetary instruments, and the need to avoid burdening unreasonably a person making a transaction with a foreign financial agency, the Secretary of the Treasury shall require a resident or citizen of the United States or a person in and doing business in the United States to keep records, files, reports, or keep records, file reports, or keep records and file reports when the citizen, or excuse me, when the resident, citizen, or person makes a transaction or maintains a relation for any person with a foreign financial agency.
And you're using the term United States as foreign to where you and I are, correct?
Correct, because it's the United States is a business.
And person is the ens legis.
Correct, the agent for the business. An officer or agent for the business. And it's all a presumption of a resident or citizenship or person. You know, a lot of people think they're persons, and you're not. You cannot be a person. A person is a fiction, folks. Go ahead.
Does this have anything to do with the fact that we may or may not be dealing with the United States that is running us through the canal zone?
Absolutely. That's an import for merchandise or government documentation known as an asset because it's got a particular intrinsic value.
Hey, Keith.
So we don't have to put anybody on notice. We just have to start acting the way we are supposed to be acting.
Right, but a gentleman always announces his presence, and that's one of the first things that we need to do. Again, as a gentleman, let them know who we really are. Listen, my apologies. I repent. I've made a lot of mistakes in the past and created some errors on the record, caused some public liabilities. I'm here to repent and grant forgiveness in equal exchange, blah, blah, blah. Whatever you need to do to let them know you're not here to make any false accusations. Just correct your mistakes, which will hopefully, if you got the intellect behind it to show that I'm just fixing my mistakes, and hopefully it will show other people the mistakes they've been making that they should inherently just want to fix. It's nothing major. I'm not accusing you of anything major. We've all been indoctrinated to the same levels. So we're all making the same mistakes.
So you're saying you're
positive criticism to help build upon an educational foundation, nothing more.
So you're saying you should announce that you're not the decedent?
Correct. Let them know I am not the decedent. The decedent is a term for a fictional person to operate in commerce under Admiralty Maritime Code.
And who would you say that to, and how would you format it?
Well, it depends on what you're talking about. Right now, I don't have to say it in that particular manner. It's more a matter of establishing the accountings that are already there in the right hands. Like I said, it's already done. The account's there and it needs to be corrected. One of those corrections is the removal of administrative hands operating it and having all the accounts cleared and settled so that it's zeroed out and nobody's indebted to anybody. Oh, nobody anything. Oh, no man anything. This is an amnesty, an allyship, letting them know you're not an enemy of the state. And that in that, when you reconcile that record, I'm going to give you double unto what I received here. And then you go to Deuteronomy 15, where that's where you're known as the one that lends unto the nation. You're the one that gave them all that credit. Now they have to let you walk away with certain amenities. Deuteronomy 15, read it.
Hey, Keith, who came up with all of this?
I have no idea. All I know is that through reading the code and putting certain things together, it was through the scripture that I was able to connect dots. That's all I'm doing. The scripture tells me everything I need to know. And when it talks about declaration of purpose, again, Jeremiah 51:31, one post shall run to meet another, messenger to messenger, shewing unto the king of Babylon that the city is taken at the other end. I'm no longer to put up with you babble and your lies. It's time to bring the word of truth.
So you think that all of those U.S. codes and that declaration of purpose, that's Babylon?
Absolutely. It's a mimic. It's done in a twist and in a tangle. Like I said, it's English. It's a twisted and perverted language, colored very well. And like I said, when you see it for what it is, it's a beautiful language. And you learn how to untwist it and put it in its proper logic patterns. The wording is very powerful. It's subliminal. It's a gateway to the true language, truth.
So have you done anything personally that anything that's floating around the internet that people do, like a declaration of not being the decedent, or telling the State Department that you're not a U.S. citizen, any of the stuff that runs, the circles?
I've got a video where I went to the local city council meeting after I had some issues, particularly with a failure to appear for jury duty, which was dismissed. But they dismissed it in error because they said they just didn't need me for jury duty, when in fact the problem was they never attained or obtained personal jurisdiction to even name a defendant. Then when they dismissed it, they sent me a notice that the costs were taxed to the defendant. So what they did was they created a tax situation, meaning a commercial transaction, wherein the record reflects beginning, there was no charges, they found no bond, there were no finances, there was no long title, yet they issued a bond for $350. And then when I finally answered and said, hey, you forgot to send a waiver of personal jurisdiction with your summons, they said, well, we'll withdraw the bond and we'll reissue the summons. So they reissued the summons and again forgot to send a waiver of jurisdiction. So I did my line item veto and writing over the summons and let them know that I was a benefactor and I wasn't accepting any liabilities. Next thing I know, here's the dismissal saying costs are taxed to defendant. So how does that liability apply to me, and why are you sending it to this address? I gave her a distinct clarification of the address, a 5-line address. She refuses to use it. She's the one converting the information I gave her. That's fraud, postal fraud.
Is it fraud because of false witness?
Absolutely. That's not what I gave her for an address. I gave her a clearly distinct international 5-line address. Legal name, or other identifier. They don't want to recognize that there's another identifier, such as Brother Keith, Cherub Joyce. They try to insist that you have to use the legal name. We went over this the other night in the Postal Service and that addressing format difference between the international mail manual and the domestic mail manual. They're treating everybody domestically according to the United States because they taught you how to use the legal name with the United States corporate entity as the principal in a trust.
Okay. So that brings up a good question. So in the United States' mind, do they see you and I as being non-domestic? I'm in Georgia, so would I'm assuming they would see me as non-domestic.
Right, they see as both. One USC1, singular means the plural imports the plural, and plural imports the singular. Male imports the female, female imports the male. It's a system of plurality, dualities all over the place. You have to act in person.
But that also seems to be singular.
Seems to be.
So
That's
is
why they
it
say
singular or is it plural?
it's both. Understand, singularly, in your similar actions, that's all it takes. Somebody can see you in their eyesight and say, hey, look, he's acting just like a banker. He pulled a wallet out of his pocket. That's a financial institution. They're pretty much the same damn thing. That's an agent. Same damn thing. A bailee. Same damn thing. Those are all nouns. I'm a living soul. How about you? Nouns describe persons, places, and things. He's a respecter of no nouns. Why does everybody keep saying that they're identifying as a noun? Are you a man or a living soul? Man is a noun. A living soul is an adjective. I want to ask you again, are you a man or a living soul?
I have something to ask you. Do you think Scripture was inspired by God?
Absolutely. So what do you think I think God is? God, I've said many times, in my opinion, my definition of God is the source of life. So in the source of life being the breath that we take, every breath gives us more life until we have to take another breath. If we quit taking the breath of life, we pass out. Sometimes we can die, depending on where we do that.
So is that the expression of that even though men wrote the Bible, it was an inspiration because of the breath they were actually taking?
Yes, and the stories that were breathed out from their forefathers that gave the oral histories until we started writing things down, thinking that that would last longer and inspire the same thing. But we forget to write the same, so it gets transliterated and translated and transliterated and this and that and confused and commingled, and we end up with a Babylonian language taking all kinds of different languages to try to put it together in some semblance of common sense. It'll never happen.
So that's what the law would actually be, what
Right.
the Bar Association is.
Yep. It's a confusion with fusion, with duality. It fused a singular with another.
This is fascinating.
Why so? Tell me.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about me, and I'll nutshell it so I don't bore you to death, but I'll give you 1 minute. I've been researching the law for 20 years, since 2004. And I stayed within the statutes. And I really didn't put this picture together, which I still don't have fully, nowhere near, until recent time. But you get on the internet and you start researching all this, and it's enough to drive you crazy sometimes. It really is.
I can't imagine you doing it 20 years. I've been doing just around 8 now, full time. So I can't imagine 20 years there.
My problem is what I did was I went and spent 20 years, 15 of those years studying Title 26. So that's kind of my forte, so to speak. But all of this other stuff, I'm just now seeing a lot of new people come online talking about foreign irrevocable trusts and having a 98 EIN. And I'm like, look, if you're not a U.S. citizen, why are you worried about getting a 98 EIN and doing business in a foreign trust? Why don't you just declare yourself to be non-domestic? Doesn't that solve it? I mean, it's very confusing to me, because if I look at Title 26 at this point, 15 years later, I'm saying CFR 1.1-1 tells me a U.S. citizen or resident alien are the only people that are liable. Congress has only made those individuals liable. Why do I need to go off into La La Land with a 98 trust and do all of this and the Minnesota 220 rule and all? I mean, is all of that stuff necessary, or is it just hype?
Yeah, it's all hype. When you think about the Uniform Commercial Code and acting in that contract sense, first of all, the Uniform Commercial Code is literally known as Battle of the Forms. Second of all, under those commercial codes, those are statutes. Federal Acquisition Regulations, 48 CFR 52.212-5, the heading says, contract terms and conditions required to implement statutes or executive orders, commercial services or commercial products. So in order to deal with any commercial services or products, they have to be affected by statutes or executive orders, and they can only be implemented under contract terms and conditions. That tells us that the executive orders and statutes are themselves contract clauses.
So it's all contracts.
Yep.
Okay, so here's my dilemma. I know who I am. I know I'm not domestic. I know I'm not a U.S. person, but I have two problems that I can't solve. One is I have a driver's license through the state of Georgia that says I'm a U.S. citizen, and I have a marriage license through the county here. And I don't know if that matters or if it doesn't. That I have two documents out there that claim that I'm saying I'm a U.S. citizen.
Yeah, and yet it's just a matter of rebutting them for what they are. They're state government documentations. So what you've done is you've applied as a individual, which is they maintain records on records maintained on individuals. An individual is one of those persons of the person taxonomy. So you're still of a United States through the resident or United States citizen classification, no matter how you look at it. It's predetermined just by that alone.
Luckily I have a great wife that I've been married to for 26 years. She's agreed to divorce me, and we remarry and record that in a family Bible. And that separates the marriage license. I don't have a voter registration, and now I'm down to the driver's license. And that is the dilemma, is how do I function without getting billy clubbed on the side of the road every day for not having a license? Do I just send the DMV a document that says, hey, there you go. Yeah. Yep. You're recorded in there. Yep.
No last names.
So, Brother Keith, the question pertaining to Jason just asked, couldn't he do an annulment with the state, and therefore
right? And that's what
he doesn't have to go through a divorce, and that way it would be like if none of that ever took place, because then it will null and void because it was done in dishonor as well as non-disclosure.
Yeah, she brings up a good point, because someone mentioned someone told me to annul it and base it on the fact that there's been fraud perpetrated. I just mentioned divorce because I was going to have fun going in front of a judge and saying, hey, we're actually going to go home tonight and have dinner and everything's going to be fine. We're just getting rid of your asses up at the county.
Right. That's more along the lines of the nullity is that it's a nullity not because there's fraud, but because there's a mistake. My mistake. We've come to realize that in this marriage license with the state that we came a partnership with you as a third party that could intervene in our lives as a local parentis in a Title 4D contract. That marriage license is said Title 4D contract as well. So we dismiss that as a nullity because now that we know better, we don't wish to contract with the state as a possible intervener. We wish to maintain our own plenipotentiary powers as we set our house in order.
So you would recommend what the young lady was saying as well to annul?
Correct. Nullify it and that covenant with the Bible.
And how would someone nullify it? They would write to the probate court and say, "Hey, the gig's up. I know what's
Absolutely
going on." And what am I
due to our mistake, we find it unconscionable.
And so I'm ordering them that I'm rescinding my signature on that document.
Correct.
Key.
We found ourselves to be unconscionable, for had we thought about this and understood at the time that this allowed the state through a Title 4D contract to intervene in our private lives as a local parentis, as if though we're children, mind you, we've come to realize that we can't place that liability on the public record any further. That's not what we expected. That's not what we expected nor intended. Go ahead.
They were marrying the third party. They were actually marrying somebody else into, it was like having a three-way.
Correct.
So let me get this straight because I'm trying to write this down. We found ourselves unconscionable.
Because had we been conscious of what was happening here with that contract and how it allows the state to be a local parentis or take some kind of authority in our lives, we would have never done that. We're fully able and competent ourselves.
Hey, what they actually did was allow the state become God in their marriage.
Yes, they have complete control over the marriage.
Yeah, the parens patria, the local parentis, the false patriot.
Can I claim a religious reason?
Birthright.
I'm assuming.
Birthright.
I'm assuming they would create some difficulty in doing this, or I mean, are they just gonna say, "Oh yeah"? No
they're gonna want to see your will and your living will, but you don't give it to them. You show that in equity in private chambers. You'll give them private viewing. Otherwise, they can have a certificate of trust where you've established a trust. Did you know that your living will is an establishment of trust because you made an assignment to carry out certain tasks for a benefit?
Oh, so if my wife
that's an expression of a trust. Therefore, your living will is a trust.
So if my wife and I both have a living will, then
I assign her as my trustee in case I become mentally or in health-wise incompetent. You do the same with her.
That's what we've done.
Now, Brother Keith, can someone use what they call create their own baptismal record, and that
Absolutely.
will be like
absolutely in the Bible.
Right, and then you put it into the Bible, and that's now your new rebirthing, coming back to who you were originally before the conversion took place. Is that
returning to be a child of God again, recognizing
I have
that
a question.
Recognizing that He is the Father. No paternity test and no mother on earth can deny it. There is but one Father which art in heaven. So you are a child of Him at all stages of life. Even when you're 75 years old and taking your last breath, you're still a child of God. No matter whether man wants to call you an adult, juvenile, minor, whatever.
Okay, so my question is, then what separates it from the separation of church and state?
Well, that's that false patriot again. The state is a false patriot, and it came from the church, which is a false church. Remember, the unum sanctum, the Pope claimed the souls of all living men as if though he has a right to do that when Jesus already redeemed them. Is the guy stupid? Well, he may be, but it seems the rest of the population is just as stupid and doesn't know how to interpret the scriptures because they don't read them. They take the interpretation of all the fucking popes, bishops, and ministers and pastors and everybody that are bearing the false witness.
Now, Brother Keith, you know what that sounds like? That sounds like the Constitution and the separation of powers between church and state.
Ninth Amendment, 10th Amendment, knowing that the rights otherwise not put in the Constitution of the United States were reserved to the states or the people. They forget that. And the people's rights are more than those enumerated in the Constitution. And therefore, if the state didn't have the right to delegate the powers, and the United States didn't have the state or the ability to delegate the powers, then it could only have come from the people.
Exactly. And that would be the 9th and 10th Amendment based on the Bill of Rights?
Yep.
Okay. That's what I thought.
People forget the way that's phrased and the fact that the people are listed at the very end. But if it were for the people to first delegate the powers to the Constitution, there wouldn't be anything left over to then delegate to the state's constitutions, whether it be the state or the federal level. If it weren't first for the people, the one right that the states or the federal government can never have.
So if I was to ask you in that indoctrination, is that now you're using like words like the people, and then people have a designation just like you has a designation. So it's like understanding that kink in the armor of where you can stand.
Yeah, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. Before he created us as man, he created us as people because he wanted more than one. None of us can do it alone, guys, right?
But you say you have to act alone. You have to take your journey and you have to do you.
But it comes from the experience again, from the forefathers and the oral histories and the literature and language and arts and entertainment and everything that we're both learning from and being distracted by. Again, getting back to our natural roots is where we're going to have the easiest time of learning what's natural. By being embedded in all this stuff that's not natural, it's a distraction. Set thine house in order. It's natural that the man is the one that is head of the household because he's the one that's supposed to protect both the woman and the children that he is bringing forth. She is entrusted as a part of that to take care of them in her womb and help raise them at home while he continues the main priority of always protecting and providing.
Till death do you part.
So as the children, as they have more children, he's got to provide more, which means he's got to protect more because those children and the women, if it's polygamous, will wander beyond the home sometimes. Got to gather them back up. Say, no, you can't do that. Only certain places, certain times that you're safe. You're among other people of the same nature and away from men. This is why we have two different distinct cultures between men and women.
So do you think that Adam and Eve story is like correct, or in that that's where it all went astray?
I don't know what you mean by correct because I don't know what's correct about it or not.
Well, the only thing I would say about that one is that I went over that in my head. I've been asking those questions, and what I went over in my head is that the first creation, they created two beings. It sounds like they created the male and the female at the first time in the first creations. And then they decided, well, we're going to now go back and we're going to fix what we did because we didn't get approval to do something, and we created what they call a goyim. So now they went and had a second creation, And in that second creation, that's where they created man and blew the breath of life into man. And that's how man became a living soul. So that's now where I feel the debauchery came in, is when somebody thought they were going to go above the creator, and they created their own peoples. They started to, and then when the creator come down and said, what have you created here on earth? This is not what I gave you authority to do. And so that was destroyed. And then the creator said, I'm destroying everything, and now I'm going to create man in my image from the soil and give them the breath of life. And that's what I really feel it actually took place. I don't know, I may be wrong, I don't know.
Yeah, again, I don't know the construct of the order. I just know the way I feel about things, and in an order of logic and reason, I think the simplest way to look at things, no matter how they started out or how they came about, is that we're all supposed to be of good, kind heart and do good and reasonable things. The more we do that, the better we get at it, and the more we're able to enhance those other talents that many people believe they have. Ye are gods; ye shall do greater things than I. It's written, so it must seemingly be possible that we could possibly have telekinetic powers or things like that. Never know. We see autistic children that have amazing talent. Don't know where it comes from because the rest of their mind seems to be screwed. But somewhere in there, there's an amazing talent. How does that work?
Right, because I mean, in some way, something had to happen to go, man is the head, that God is the head, then man, then woman. Something had to happen to prove that to be an actual truth.
Yeah. So anyway, with that, I'm going to bring her to an end. We're 2.5 hours. I never meant to go this long. Getting close to my bedtime here. So
Keith, let me ask you one last question. I know
Sure.
I know you used to run around with Derek a lot. Do you guys still hang out any?
We don't necessarily hang out, but we keep in touch.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay. Well, thanks for
Yep.
having me. I appreciate it.
You bet. Anytime. Feel free to come on back up anytime. I appreciate all input. Even if it's just sitting there silent, filling up things, but taking notes. I
Well,
appreciate that too.
I've turned on my notifications for your channel, so I'll be in tune to when you go live.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you.
You bet. All right. With that, you guys want to got anything on the way out?
The only
Okay,
thing
I'll.
I have to say, Brother Keith, if you know, they tell you the month of September is really the ninth month, but if you think of it, it's really the 7th month. But if you look at the date today, you have 9/9, and then if you take 2024, that gives you a 6, and then you flip it around, you have a 999. So that's the divine order today, divine completion.
2024, you get an 8. But anyway,
That's 2024. That's the 2 and the that was that the 6. Oh yeah, you get an 8. But still, it's still a well, I'll explain it another time. But I see where I'm going with it.
all right. How about you,
Okay.
Paul?
Hey, I just want to say that, in the subconscious of the conscious, all information is the true information can be absorbed in. So I just appreciate the conversation and the intelligence.
Absolutely. And remember, when it comes to the trust stuff, nothing of it is mandatory. Remember, my yea is my yea, my nay is my nay. And if you study to show yourself worthy and approved, you have to think about it and be able to put it down on paper first. So if you can think about it before you put it on paper, then you should be able to think about it before you speak it. When you become adept, again, like riding a bike, you become adept at speaking it. And that's the important part. Not just be able to put it in documentation. If you fall dependent upon putting it in documentation, then you're still limiting yourself.
Exactly. I believe that you should speak it. And in that same thing is prayer And the inspiration of prayer is that it's powerful. So speaking is more powerful than writing.
Yeah, and so again, I'm going to relate to scripture where it says Proverbs 30, verse 5. Every word of God is pure. He is a shield unto him who put their trust in him. Every word of God is pure. He is a shield unto them who put their trust in him. In the beginning was the Word, Word was God, Word was God. Put that in everything you do. Every breath you take is an act of God. Make it so. And that wasn't quoting Star Trek. Anyway, with that, you guys know me. I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back. That's to say, I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you don't respect me. That's on you. So may God bless you and have a good night. We'll see everybody next time. Bye now.
When do you want it? How do you want it? Who's your daddy? What about your mom?